Hey everybody, this is the weekly forecast commencing on Monday, August the 19th, 2024. And on Monday, it's the full moon in Aquarius. Full moons releases a lot of energies, things that have been hidden comes to the surface. In general, it can test relationships, but it's a very emotional, reactive time. But this full moon, and especially that the day of this full moon, has some really intense energies that I went into more detail in my full moon video forecast. But the rundown is this full moon is forming a hard angle to Uranus. Full moons release a lot of hidden pent-up energies. Uranus, when it's in a hard, stressful angle to Uranus, Uranus is rebellious, it's unpredictable, can be shocking. So there could be a release of like an earthquake, as an example. Now, Jupiter, which represents prosperity and abundance and expansion, will be exactly squaring, that's a 90-degree angle of conflict, to Saturn. Saturn can represent contraction, Jupiter represents expansion. When these two planets are in hard angle to each other, there is a tremendous amount of restlessness and stress, often economically. Saturn rules structures. So with this full moon hitting Uranus, Uranus can be these explosions, these rebellions. It could be, there might be some economic meltdowns from the stock market, but there could also be like a dam breaking, which is a great metaphor for this energies. Or if there was an earthquake, because Saturn rules the earth, and it rules structures and buildings, and with that full moon, with the Jupiter expanding all that contracting energy, there may very well be a major release of energies that you could see on the stock market, you could see on the world's economies. But it could also be that it is an earthquake or some kind of maybe a war attack from a country that could cause the destructions of structures, that could cost billions of dollars. So that could be the economic shock. Mercury, don't forget, is retrograde from August the 4th to August the 28th. And when it's in retrograde, there's a lot of misinformation, a lot of confusion. But many times Mercury in retrograde is expect the unexpected, but also with Mercury in retrograde, we have a tendency to build mountains out of molehills. And I'm not done with Monday the 19th. The moon goes void of course from 11:26 a.m. Pacific time until 3:52 p.m. Pacific time, at which point the moon that represents or reflects the emotional tone of the public goes into Pisces. Aquarius and Pisces is so different because Aquarius has a tendency to be very impersonal, detached, intellectual energies. Pisces is very empathetic, it's very compassionate, it's very healing energies, it's very personal. So on this full moon, with all this tension building, and you don't know what to do, and what kind of, how to react, and with that Mercury in retrograde especially. But with the moon void, of course, it's best to just stay centered, go for a walk, meditate, basically don't react until all this, your nerves calm down. On Tuesday, there are no planetary events other than the moon is continuing in Pisces. That's good because Monday could be so anxious and stressful for many people that on Tuesday, the energy just kind of calms down, and or there's not more craziness, but now we can just kind of maybe have time to process whatever was being released on Monday. On Wednesday, the moon's in Pisces for the first half of the day. It's going to be in harmony with liberating, innovative Uranus, noon, 1 p.m. Pacific time. That moon, when it's favorable to the Uranus, can bring some emotional release and some emotional surprises that can really help you get out of any stuck routine. But the moon leaves Pisces, goes into fiery independent Aries at 4:02 p.m. Pacific time. Now here, that every 2.5 days as the moon goes from sign to sign, from Pisces to Aries is so different because the moon in Pisces, there's this tendency to become one with others and compassionate and empathetic. That moon in Aries, all you can think about is achieving your goals, taking the lead. It's more all about the self, but very ambitious and very driven. Don't have time to be worrying about what's going on with other people. On Thursday at 7:55 a.m. Pacific time, the sun that's been in Leo the past 4 weeks goes into Virgo. Leo is theatrical, it's extroverted, it's romantic. That end of July into the end of August is when a lot of people go on vacations, or they're having, weekend parties, going to the beach, barbecues. That's all supported with that extroverted, outgoing Leo sun. But on Thursday at 7:55 a.m., the sun goes into Virgo for those next 4 weeks. And for especially people in the northern latitudes, we're wrapping up the summer. Another week, it's going to be September. Virgo is that energy of it's time to get back to work. It's time, it's back to your routine, back to your task, back to your job. The summer is winding down in the northern latitudes. The vacations are wrapping up, and it's time to get back to your previous work routine. Now, the moon is also in Aries for the day as the sun goes into Virgo. So you're still this ambitious energy, but with the Virgo energy, now that could be really that focus, that motivation could be focused on accomplishing work tasks. Venus will be squaring or a hard angle to Mars. Now, Venus can represent love and romance, creativity, but Venus is also a planet of finances. So when Venus is in conflict with Mars, there could be tensions, arguments around intimacy, around the personal issues in a relationship. Or you could be arguing, fighting over money. And I remember many years ago, I was taking my first astrology relationship workshop. And my teacher said at the time, when you got that Venus-Mars, if they're not fighting about, when they're fighting, how did she say it? When they're fighting about sex, they're really stressed about money. Or when they're when they're fighting over money, they're really stressed about problems sexually. And I just thought, okay, that's interesting. But that Venus-Mars when it comes to relationships, when it comes to money, then just the energy is really intense, and that moon and Aries, you jump the gun, you get too impatient. Basically, just breathe, and and this too shall pass, and let's wait until Friday. So on Friday, the moon's in Aries for most of the day, but the moon goes void of course at 5:44 a.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific time. I don't know how much that I mentioned. Well, I've talked about it in all the other videos week past. I don't know how much I got into it on Monday when the moon's void of course for about 5 hours or so. But that's when the moon is changing signs. But it's no longer making aspects to other planets in the chart until it goes into the next sign, and then the cycle starts all over again. So when the moon is void of course, and it's going through this transitional period, the energy is flat, it's unproductive. It's good just stick with your routine. It's good for resting and reflecting. But if you're trying to initiate any major new goals and projects during the moon void of course, the energy is too flat and unproductive. Now, at 5 p.m. Pacific time on Friday, the moon goes into Taurus. Taurus is an earth sign. When the moon was in Aries, it's a fire. Fire is impatience, it's inspirational, it's aggressive. But when it goes into Taurus once a month, Taurus is an earth sign. It's grounding, it's steady, it's calming. Also during the day, Mercury, that's retrograde, will be in harmony with assertive Mars. Now, you don't want to start anything new, especially since most of the day, nearly 12 hours, the moon's void of course. But this could be favorable with Mercury in retrograde, is re-energizing an old project. Like dusting it off, taking it off the shelf, dusting it off, and then being motivated to get, to go back to achieving this old goal. Nothing new yet because the Mercury's in retrograde. On Saturday, the emotional public moon is in Taurus for the whole day, and no other important planetary events. So it's also a really calming day, and good for feeling really grounded. Now, Taurus is ruled by Venus. It is the weekend. The moon are your emotional reactions and feelings. So when the moon's in Taurus, it's very favorable for stimulating more sensuality, more sensual desires, and it's the weekend. Sunday, as the moon will stay in Taurus for most of the day, but around noon, 1 p.m. Pacific time, the moon will be in harmony with Venus. Now, Taurus, the moon's in Taurus, Taurus is ruled by Venus. So you have this moon in Taurus ruled by Venus in harmony with Venus. So around noon, early afternoon Pacific time, this would be, you could have a really enjoyable early afternoon brunch, gathering with family. And then if you're on the East Coast of the United States, it could be a late afternoon get-together. In Europe, a late night, but it's a nice kind of pleasurable gathering where you're really feeling like you're getting your needs met. By mid-afternoon, Sunday, moon continuing in Taurus, but it's going to cross over Uranus as it does once a month. So that can just be this moon, that emotion, there could be a real unexpected emotional release of energies. It could be if you're planning an event around that mid-afternoon, but Pacific time, the moon Uranus could be really exciting. Get you out of the old stuck routine, do something completely different. But there might also be an unexpected upset. So you just have to see, what are you planning? What could go right or wrong? But overall, it could be really exciting energies. And then the moon leaves Taurus, goes into Gemini, 8:04 p.m. Pacific time. And so Taurus is so steady and persevering, sometimes stubborn, determined energy. When the moon goes into Gemini, you're like all over the place. You're bouncing off ideas, you're running errands, you can't stop talking. So there's all this restlessness and brainstorming with the moon in Gemini. So late Sunday, especially going into next Monday, couldn't be very favorable for, correspondence, a lot of, networking, a lot of brainstorming ideas. Your mind is quick and fresh to be having early Monday morning meetings. So this is a big week, starting with that powerful new full moon on Monday. I want to thank you for watching. If you'd like information on how to book an astrology reading or to sign up for my 2-question offer, visit my website at gardino.go, that's .co. Until next week, be safe and well.